Hello, I'm Victoria Griffin. This video is for my editing clients and for anyone who is not familiar with track changes. If you work with a professional editor, they are likely going to send your edits back using track changes in Microsoft Word. So track changes is very, very simple. It looks a little confusing if you've never used it before, so I'm just going to take a second to show you the features and how you should be using it. So on my screen here, you see Alice in Wonderland, which is in the public domain. I have made some comments, made some changes, so you can see what's happening. My changes are in red. Anything that is added is going to be shown in red, and you're going to see who did that and when they did it. Over here to the right, you're also going to see what's been deleted. Okay, so your editor sends you a document like this and you need to do something with it. Now the first thing you're going to do is go to the Review tab. Right here you can turn track changes on or off. So right now it's on. If I turned it off and made a change, it's just normal. I turn it back on and you can see that the change is in red, and if I were to delete something, then that shows up over here on the sidebar. Now you can also change the markup level. So right now it is showing all markup. We see all of our tracked changes. If I go to simple markup, then all I see is the comments, and I can also see where there have been changes over here on the left. See, nothing was changed in this portion, so this is blank over here on the left. A lot of times while I'm working with a manuscript, I will switch to simple markup while I'm working because it helps the document load faster. When you get a 400-page document full of track changes, it can get a little slow. You can also go to no markup. So here it's not showing any of the track changes, any of the comments, but note that the tracked changes are still there. So that's going to be important here in a second. All right, I'm going to switch back to all markup. You can also change markup options. This isn't really important for most writers. This is mainly just an aesthetic thing. Okay, so your editor sends this document back to you and you need to go over these changes. You can go through the changes one by one and choose to accept or reject. So, made this change, I want to accept. Awesome. That change is now part of your official document. You can also accept this change and move to the next one. So if you're jumping through, maybe your editor was proofreading and there aren't many changes. So if the next change is 4 pages down, then using that option will let you accept and immediately jump to the next change. You can also accept all changes, which will clear the slate. It will say, all right, all of the changes are going to be incorporated into our final document. So let's see what that looks like. Boom. And you're good to go. If you really trust this editor, if it's someone you've worked with in the past, you might do this. Some writers will also skim the changes without accepting them. Just look for anything they might want to adjust and then accept all. Of course, you can see this did not change the comments, so you're still going to want to go through the comments. When I'm line editing, oftentimes I'll run across a sentence that I don't quite understand what the author was trying to say, and I'll leave a comment in that case and say, hey, check this, make sure that the edit maintained the accuracy of what you were trying to say. So while you're working with comments, you can do a similar thing in jumping to the next comment. That makes it really easy to run through those comments quickly. And then when you're working with comments, you can respond, you can delete the comment, or you can resolve it. Most people are pretty familiar with comments. This is the same kind of thing that we work with in Google Docs, so I won't spend too much time here. Okay, now I'm going to press Command Z and undo accepting those changes. So all the changes are back. So like accepting, you can also reject and move to next, or you can reject all changes and go back to your original unedited document. Now, an important thing to remember here is that you do need to accept or reject all changes before you do anything else with the document. If you try to export this document to a different file format, if you try to copy and paste text from this document to another one, if you send it to another professional, your interior formatter, they're not going to like this. When a document has track changes, it does weird things. If you try and copy and paste this into another file, it's going to go crazy. So be sure that you get rid of all of these track changes on the sidebar, and note that even if you switch to no markup, those track changes are still there. If you copy and paste this text into a different file, it's going to do weird stuff. So remember to go through all of those changes, and at the very end, go ahead and accept all changes. Make sure that they're all out of there. Okay, those are the basics of track changes. Note that this is Office 365, so this is the 2019 version of Word. If you have a different version, it's all pretty much the same. It's going to look very similar. A couple other questions that I get when writers get their manuscript back in track changes: if I am doing any sort of low-level editing, line editing, proofreading, you're going to see a lot of deleted spaces, changed quotation marks. People often want to know what that's about. So at the beginning and end of any low-level edit, I run a quick find and replace for a few things. One of the first things I do is replace quotation marks. What this does is convert dumb quotes, the straight quotes, to smart quotes. So I'm going to run that. I do the same thing for apostrophes. I also replace double spaces with single spaces. I delete all tabs. So we don't want any manual tabs in the document. Instead of using a tab, you should be using the indent. I also look for spaces before and after paragraphs. So if you have a space like this before your paragraph, or like this right after, I will find and remove those by searching for space, paragraph, and replacing that with paragraph. And then similarly, I'll do paragraph space. So when you see a ton of seemingly small changes over here on the sidebar, that's what that's about. Track changes also shows formatting adjustments. So if I were to change this to Courier, it's going to show that. Typically when I'm doing low-level editing, I will make formatting adjustments with track changes off if they're necessary, just so I don't clutter up the sidebar with those changes. All right, those are the basics of using track changes in Microsoft Word. Again, it is very simple. If you're not familiar with it, you will pick up on it very quickly. Again, the most important thing to remember is to get rid of those track changes. Be sure to accept or reject before doing anything else with your manuscript. If you have any questions, email me at victoria@victoriagriffin.net, and thanks for watching.